friends, welcome to a new topic today, and in this chapter let us now learn about first important thing, which is electroconvulsive therapy. In the electroconvulsive therapy we have two types. One, we have direct, second we have modified type of electroconvulsive therapy. Okay, in the modified type of electroconvulsive therapy is mainly done under general anesthesia. Okay, here in electroconvulsive therapy we use around 190 to 120 volts into volts of current is given for 1.9 to 1.2 seconds. It's easier to remember. 90 to 120, it is given for 0.9 to 1.2 seconds, and this will lead to the this electroconvulsive therapy. What will we do once we give this current? There will be activation of formation of seizures. Okay, and these seizures are done at a rate of 12 to 20 seconds for motor seizures. Motor seizures will be in the duration of 10 to 20 seconds in the motor seizures, 10 to 20 seconds in the motor seizures. And you have even EEG seizures. We have two types of seizures which occurs. One, we have 10 to 20 seconds of motor seizures, and in the EEG seizures we have 25 to 30 seconds in the EEG seizures. Okay, so this electroconvulsive therapy causes seizures, which is 12 to 20 seconds of motor seizures and 25 to 30 seconds of EEG seizures. So in this you should see where the electrode is placed. So placement of electrode is very important. So we put the electrode in bitemporal region. Okay, bitemporal region is the placement of electrode. See, if electrode loss is more, then electrode is on should be placed on non-temporal, non-dominant lobe. If there is any injury to the lobe, if for example if think that there is injury to this, normally you should put it in bitemporal lobe. If there is injury to this bitemporal lobe, then you should put the electrode in bifrontal lobe. Placement is important. Okay, then in this you should see the mechanism of action. Mechanism of action of this electroconvulsive therapy is because of the amine redistribution occurs because of this electroconvulsive therapy. Now, what is important here is the marker of electroconvulsive therapy. What is the marker? There is increased levels of brain-derived nerve growth factor occurs. Brain-derived nerve growth factor plasma levels occurs, which is a marker of recent electroconvulsive therapy. Okay, now once you have learned about this, then you will have to look into the complications. Okay, what are the not complications, what are the contraindications? Many questions have been asked, especially on contraindications. So if you see the contraindications, these can be divided into whether there is absolute contraindication can be there, or there can be relative contraindication can be there. There are no absolute contraindications. If you see relative contraindication, there is raised intracranial pressure, there can be recent MI, or there can be pacemaker activity. There can be raised intracranial tension, recent MI, and pacemaker activity can be there. Those are the main contraindications. Then what are the complications? Complications can be there. It can be directly. Complications can be there, or those due to modified electroconvulsive therapy complications are there. Complications due to direct are there can be fracture of spine or fracture of femur. Fracture of bones is the most common complication of direct electroconvulsive therapy. In modified electroconvulsive therapy, there will be mild side effects or mild complications, like there will be mostly headache. Post therapy, there can be confusion. Post therapy, 1 to 2% memory loss can be there. All these are recent, reversible, and these are short lasting only. Then once you have learned about this, the next important thing is see, in ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, there will be definitely memory loss, and this memory loss will be retrograde memory loss is more than anterograde memory loss. Okay, but in the presence of head injury, if you see, there will be definitely memory loss. Here the memory loss is anterograde more than retrograde. This you should remember. So electroconvulsive therapy, the memory loss is more than retrograde is more in retrograde than anterograde, whereas in head injury, anterograde memory loss is more than retrograde memory loss. There is one more way, that is called as repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation is present. In this repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, the use of this repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation is OCD. It is used in OCD, it is used in depression, post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety. You can use it. What is this done? So if this is the brain, to the brain you are going to pass the magnetic waves through the brain, and these magnetic veins will generate the current. What does these magnetic veins do? They will generate the current, and these current will modify the chemicals present in the brain. So that is called as repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. Then there is something called as vagal stimulation also. What is this vagal stimulation? Here, with the help of this NTS, we will stimulate the left vagus nerve. Remember, it is left vagus nerve. So when we stimulate the left vagus nerve, these will release the amines and this will improve the depression. So it can be used in depression. Okay. So there are some more disorders, like we have seasonal mood disorder. What does this seasonal mood disorder mean? This seasonal mood disorder is based on the seasons. So if you see, we have winters. In winters we have less light, right? Because of less light in winters there is depression. Okay, and because in summer, if you see, there will be more light, right? Because of more light in summer there is increased chance of going through mania. Okay, that is the main thing. In winter, predisposing to depression. In summer, predisposing to mania. Okay, that is main important thing. So what are you going to do in this? In this you should give something called as light therapy. What is this light therapy? In light therapy, you give whenever you increase light. Okay, especially in depression, because it occurs due to decreased light, so you should increase light in depression, you should decrease light in mania. That is light therapy. Okay, now then the next disorder which is important is schizoaffective disorder. So what are you going to see in schizoaffective disorder? Here in this illness there is schizophrenia. Along with that there are some mood symptoms also. Both these will occur simultaneously in 80% of the cases. See, there should be either schizophrenia or there should be either phobia or mania. Okay, these both are two different entities. But if they both occur simultaneously, then we call it as schizoaffective disorder. Then there is something called as suicide. Okay, let us now learn a few points about suicide. If you see suicide, in suicide, this suicide is associated with depression, schizophrenia. It is associated with depression, schizophrenia. It is associated with alcohol. It is associated with substance abuse, personality disorder. In the personality disorder, it is associated with borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder. It is associated with all these. Okay, many things like depressive disorder, schizophrenia, alcohol dependence, substance dependence, personality disorder like borderline personality, and antisocial personality. What are the risk factors of suicide? It is seen in males in the age group more than 45 years. It is seen in divorced and also widowed patients. It is seen in people who are unemployed, okay, who have chronic illness. It is seen in patients with chronic illness, and if they have the family history of suicide, okay, there is increased chances of suicide. Or poor social support. So what are the risk factors? Males age more than 45 years, divorced, widowed or unemployed, chronic illness, family history of suicide, and poor social support. So if you see the etiology, it is because of decreased levels of serotonin will increase suicide. Decreased levels of 5-hydroxyindole acetic acid increases the suicidal risk also. This most common among all these, I have said many disorders which can lead to suicide. Among all this, depression is the most common illness which leads to suicide. Where is this suicide seen in depression? See, this is a depressive episode and you have given treatment. Okay, post this treatment he starts recovering. During this period there is increased risk of suicide, and this type of suicide which occurs during the treatment or recovery phase, this is called as paradoxical suicide, because here the suicide is occurring in the recovery phase. It is also most common in elderly patients and it is most common in man. See, this has, if you see, I have said in the risk factors, male it is more risk factor. So obviously it is most common in male. But if you see suicidal attempts, if you were asked about suicide, then in male patients there is increased risk of getting suicide. But if you see suicidal attempts, these are most common in females. Suicidal attempts are most common in females. Okay, so this is about suicide. So thank you guys for watching my lecture. In the next class we will learn about one more important thing. Thank you.